streaming on YouTube now as well, and we'll be going on wakeupuk.net as well. God bless you, Jason Tyler. So anyway, yeah, if you're watching an archive version, if it's not live, then you can fast forward about 10 minutes to the top of the show. And see you then. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Oh, it's a beautiful piece of music, this, huh? Sorry, I'm ruining it. Oh, blimey. That's not me, actually. That's I need to re-download this piece of music. Yeah, I must re-download this piece of music because it's beautiful, and it's a shame that it's... Okay, hey, we might have video on YouTube tonight. Whoa, I tell you, it's not going to be great, but I'm trying to sort that out. Trying to get extra bandwidth out of Vodafone is like getting blood out of a stone, I tell you. Crazy. And yeah, we're on Right Unity too, on Wake Up UK. Whoa, excellent. Good evening over there. Good to have you around. Coming up in about 6 minutes, people. blimey, I bet everybody's crying now. 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Blimey. Is that me? Could be. Probably. I'm sorry, that is just awful. All right, come on, let's wake up! Yeah. Goodness sake. There we go. Yeah, mojo. Hey folks. Good evening, good people. I'll tell you what, I'm amazed. On time! To the second. Welcome to the Daily Brexit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination and exposing plutocracy. I'm Olly Connelly. Thanks for turning up. And now, homeless. What is the extent of Britain's epidemic of homelessness on our streets? Helper to the homeless, activist Dave Simpson joins me now, and he should be calling in about any time. Taking your calls for him on Discord, gov.ly/rant from the bottom of the hour. And we'll see you in the comments. Please support the show, paypal.me/Brexit. I know a few folks of you did earlier, and I really appreciate it, yeah. It all goes into the show, I promise you. Please share the show, like the thing, get involved. Big cheers. Let folks know that we're watching, we're talking, we're thinking, we are active. Yeah, I need to change that. I need to change all that intro, really. That needs a bit of a change. That's very old, that old Glasnost business from what's his name, Corbyn. Right, let's have a look and see what's going on in the world of fake stream today. So, hold on a sec. There we go. Okay, fine. Right. So, I'm going to go through. Yesterday, obviously, this show covered in some detail the deal with the Speaker. God bless him, John Bercow. And so just to give you an idea of how the press covered that today, Daily Telegraph, Mr. Speaker takes control. Daily Mail, out of order. And I think that's very good, actually. That's a very good headline for what happened yesterday. Now, Speaker of the Devil, says the Sun. And that is my guest they're calling. Now, hold on a sec. How do I get that? There we go. Dave.
How you doing?
Yeah, very, very good indeed. Thank you. Dave Simpson with me now. Very, very good to have you, sir. I'm just going through the stories of the day a little bit in the news segment. So just bear with me a little bit. But if you want to pipe in and say anything about any of these stories, then please do. Just going through the headlines this morning, which was all about John Bercow basically changing the goalposts in the job of the Speaker. Now, I covered that yesterday, so I don't really want to get into it again today too much. But just to give you an idea, so Daily Express, you're so out of order. Times, Tory rebels join forces with Labour over Brexit. That's their take on it. So they were talking about the vote that he allowed with his very, very curious chairmanship in the chamber. May caves in on workers' rights to save a Brexit deal, Daily Mirror are saying, and The Guardian, Gay's power ebbing away as she suffers another humiliating defeat. That defeat that she lost by a margin of about, 17 votes or something like that, off the back of Bercow's peculiarity in the House. May losing control of Brexit. Go on, Dave. Go on, Dave.
That's no problem. Just have another vote. That's what they do anyway, isn't it? I mean, John Bercow, to be honest, needs a lesson in democracy. Yeah. Is the man living in a different world to the general public?
It's incredible, isn't it? It is absolutely unbelievable.
You couldn't write it, really, could you? I tell you what else you couldn't write. You couldn't write that there's 160 odd people homeless in Cardiff City.
Oh, now, Dave, bear with me. Bear with me, because about 10 minutes from now, we are going to be getting onto that, and I want to talk about that in detail for the bulk of the show. So please bear with me on that. Do you by any chance, are you on your mobile phone, or I just want to get your audio quality as good as possible? I don't know if maybe you can speak a bit closer to the microphone, or...
Yes, sorry, is that any better?
That's a little bit better, sir. That is a little bit better. Okay, so basically that gives you a gist of what the press was saying. I'm going to give you now my take on really the main stories of the day. And Guido's got one or two over on orderorder.com. Boothroyd, her take on what happened yesterday. Berco's behaviour, disgusting. Absolute and utter disgrace. So this is Betty Boothroyd, who, bless her, years and years and years ago, used to be a Tiller girl. And she, of course, became the Speaker of the House, and I think probably was the most beloved Speaker of the House we ever had. Although, goodness knows, she probably covered up loads. Go on, Dave, go on.
Best Speaker of the House in history.
She was pretty awesome, but it has to be said that she was there when there were so many cover-ups going on, not least into, for example, Elm Guest House in Barnes, and the Home Office's covering up the Dickens dossier into VIP paedophilia and stuff like that. So I don't know what, maybe she didn't know anything about that. But as a speaker, I mean, I don't know about you. I thought she was pretty awesome. But anyway, she said, well, they say here, Berco's brazen behaviour has not just been infuriating Tory MPs. Earlier today, the highly respected former Speaker Baroness Boothroyd was overheard in the corridors of Parliament, reportedly telling a senior Tory MP that Berco's actions were disgusting and an absolute and utter disgrace. Guido's well-placed source says the esteemed Baroness looked visibly shocked at the events unfolding. And another take on that story before we leave that one behind. Former Northern Ireland Assembly Speaker calls for Bercow to seriously consider his position. And it seems to me that he absolutely should resign. But Dave, they're not going to get rid of him, are they? Because he is a Remainer. And that house is packed chock-a-block, full of anti-democrats, despite the fact that the vast majority of constituencies in general election terms voted for Brexit. Their parliamentary representatives are not representing them. And they will keep him on, won't they? He's going to get away with this.
Oh, well, I thought you was a bit more up to speed with this. I mean, 650 MPs in the country.
Yeah.
408 of those MPs should be voting to get out of Brexit.
That's right.
That's what their constituents want.
That's
my
right.
local MP and my local AM are holding meetings to discuss a second referendum and how we can remain in the EU. You couldn't write it. The people are asleep. They need to wake up, go to their politicians and petition their politicians.
Remind me, Dave.
Myself.
You're in Wales, aren't you? What's your constituency?
My constituency is Torfaen. My AM is Lynn Neagle. And my MP is Nick Simmons Young. We voted 59.7% to leave the EU.
And you're saying that they're holding meetings to convince people that there should be a second referendum?
Absolutely, mate. They're holding meetings. One of them is on Monday in the council chambers to discuss how they're going to go against the people. You couldn't write this. The people need to wake up. Together we stand, united. United we stand, together we fall. Divided we fall.
United we stand, divided we fall. God bless you, Dave. Thank you. That is very, very telling insight. Another take on this from Express newspaper today. Remainer plot backfires, they're saying. Dominic Grieve's amendment has made Brexit no deal more likely, according to a Conservative MP. Now, let's just have a listen to what this lady has to say.
From my point of view, if you listen to the points of order today in the chamber, someone did ask the Speaker about that, and he was very, very clear. The only way to stop Brexit now is through legislation, and there's just not going to be the legislation there to do that. So we are going to be leaving on the 29th of March. And from what happened today, I think actually the reverse to what was the aim of the amendment today will actually make no deal more likely, because if the Prime Minister only has 3 days, if she loses that vote next week, to get something in place, that's unlikely to happen. If she had the 21 days they originally forecast, she could have gone back to Brussels, said I can't get my deal through Westminster, and Brussels would have had an opportunity to change the withdrawal agreement. I think it's more likely we will leave in March, would be my guess, and I think it's more likely now, not less likely, that we'll be leaving on a no-deal basis. I mean, certainly from my point of view... That
would be fantastic. That was Conservative MP Maria Caulfield making that. That's her take on what happened. I'm going to change focus slightly now. The Times, and if you've been listening to the BBC today, they're all talking about the problems with JLR, with Jaguar Land Rover, who are saying that they are having to downgrade their workforce and sack a load of people. And the Times was leading on this tonight. I think it was their second story, actually. Dark day for Britain's car industry as Jaguar and Ford cut thousands of jobs. Now, the point is, what they haven't been saying, and I don't think they mentioned it at all on the BBC this morning on the Today programme and this afternoon on PM when they were headlining this story. They didn't mention that JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, is saying that the biggest problem they have is with the Chinese market, because the Chinese, their sales have slumped by 50% over the course of the last year. And that's the main problem they have. And in the case of Ford, it's because of the tariffs, actually, that Trump has put on the EU and vice versa, this kind of trade war that's going on. It's not about Brexit. It may partly be, there may be, what's going on with Brexit because our government has not been straight down the line. This is what's going on and this is the plan. Only a plan that would give a foreign competitor a veto over our future, if that's a plan, which we'll be coming on to in a second, that story. But anyway, yes, they are using this again as a way to create more project fear. And really, that's the point of my bringing up that story. Telegraph, this evening, their top story is Theresa May's Brexit deal threatens national security and must be stopped, says former head of MI6. This is the big story today. This is the top story today. And on PM this afternoon, BBC PM, for example, on Radio 4, they didn't even mention it. Now listen to this. Listen to this, people. This is a massive story. He wrote a letter yesterday. The former head of MI6 has called on MPs to block the Prime Minister's Brexit withdrawal agreement, warning it threatens national security. Sir Richard Dearlove joined forces with Lord Guthrie, the former Chief of Defence Staff, to take the unprecedented step of writing to Conservative Association chairman. They described Theresa May's deal as a bad agreement and accused the EU of demanding a £39 billion ransom. And I'm going to read that letter to you now, because it is such an important story, this, people. This is a massive story. And I want you to be aware, when you watch the news later on, I don't know, whatever channel it is, you look for this story and you see if they present it at all, where it is in their running order. I bet they'll be talking about the car story, and they'll probably be chucking Brexit into that, as opposed to mentioning the downturn in China, as opposed to mentioning the tariff war that's going on. Let me read this story to you. This is from Dear Love, former MI6 top geezer, to chairman of Conservative Party associations. Dear Chairman, your MP will shortly be called upon to support the Prime Minister's withdrawal agreement. As a former Chief of the Secret Intelligence Service, with my colleague Lord Guthrie, who served as Chief of the Defence Staff shortly before I was in charge of MI6, we are taking the unprecedented step of writing to all Conservative Party chairmen to advise and to warn you that this withdrawal agreement, if not defeated, will threaten the national security of the country in fundamental ways. Please ensure that your PM does not vote for this bad agreement. On 29th of November, the attached letter to the Prime Minister was published. It explained that the withdrawal agreement threatens to change our national security policy by binding us into new sets of EU-controlled relationships. And we've talked a lot about PESCO on this show, for example. But buried in the agreement is the offer of a new, deep and special relationship with the EU in defence, security and intelligence, which cuts across the three fundamentals of our national security policy: membership of NATO, our close bilateral defence, and intelligence relationship with the USA and the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance. Number 10's immediate response, he goes on in this letter, to our previous letter showed we had touched a raw nerve. However, their rebuttal indicated a worryingly poor understanding of the issues, or they don't care. With General Julian Thompson, who was also singled out for reprimand, I repudiated Number 10's arguments and their criticism in detail. And there's a link there, yeah. And this is on my timeline. You can check this out. It's on the Daily Brexit Show timeline as well to get this link. The first duty of the state above trade is the security of its citizens. The withdrawal agreement abrogates this fundamental contract and would place control of aspects of our national security in foreign hands. Please ensure that your MP votes against this bad agreement and supports a sovereign Brexit on WTO rules without payment of ransom, for which we now know from a heroic anonymous civil servant, the civil service is, of course, fully prepared for no deal Brexit, he's saying. And he signs that with Field Marshal Baron Guthrie of Craigiebank as well. Just an absolutely incredible letter, Dave, no?
Yeah, I don't know whether you're aware there's 35,000 troops, EU sort of PESCO, been ordered to go on the streets. Let me tell you something, Ollie. If the country rises together, united, every city, every town, instead of marching on London, if yellow vests ignite all around the country, forget your 35,000 troops, because there'll be 8 million people on the streets, not a million or 100,000 like they're hoping for in London.
Yeah.
People need to demonstrate in their own cities, their own towns, underneath their own banner. The left and the right need to come together and fight the real problem. The real problem is the government. We're all suppressed. And these marches and meetings in London on the streets they've ordered 35,000 troops to try and combat it because they know it's coming. You're going the wrong way about it, guys. What's got to happen is every area, every city, every town, you've got to get together and protest for your local community, not go to London and be a target for them to kettle you in. 35,000 troops, Who do they think the government think they are? They're going to think they're going to fix the uprising of the UK. The UK people, they think they're going to beat those with 35,000 troops. Well, if people did get together in their local areas, 35,000 troops ain't even going to touch the surface, because ignited under the people and the UK, they'll have 8 million people on the streets. 17.4 million voted for Brexit. Direct gone against it. Their MPs have been tyrannous. They've gone against the democratic vote of the people. The people, how dare they? Now, if they think they haven't got a fight on their hands, they've got another thing coming. And all this palaver about this nonsense about you can't shout at an MP. Dear me, I've had my local leader of the council saying that I can't ask him questions. He didn't return my calls. He didn't return my texts. He has sent a letter to the First Minister of the Welsh Assembly urging him for a second referendum. Anthony Hunt, leader of Torfaen, you have gone directly against the people you were voted in by. They've got to understand that they are going to be heckled. They are going to be called out. He said, I'm not speaking to you because you seem pissed off. Well, there's going to be an awful lot of pissed off people in the country. Don't you think that we ought to be able to have freedom of speech? I hold freedom of speech very dearly. Democracy is everything in everyday life. So what are they trying to suppress?
Well said, sir.
Sorry, Ollie, carry on.
No, well said, well said. And there's another story which is related to this, and it's in Breitbart, their top story this evening. Merkel and Macron pool defence foreign policy in prototype sovereign Europe. And we know that they are both calling for that. Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron are set to deepen Franco-German ties by signing a twinning treaty, which has been criticised as an erosion of national sovereignty. The pro-open borders German Chancellor, she's been giving speeches to that effect. Again, they haven't been shown on the BBC. And globalist French President Macron are set to formalise their already close cooperation with shared defence, foreign and economic policy and business regulations in what is seen as a prototype for a more sovereign, united Europe. According to Breitbart, this story was in the Times earlier. As European Union member states, the countries have already abandoned many of their sovereign rights by ditching their national currencies for the euro, agreeing to open borders within the bloc, and submitting to European courts at their highest legal arbiter, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, absolutely, Dave. The people in France are rising up against this, are they not? The Yellow Vests have set such an amazing precedent, and we in the UK have to follow that lead, no?
Well, myself and some local people here did a meeting on Saturday. We held a very, very peaceful protest. We demonstrated in Newport. There was no problems there except from the Green Party, an ex-Green Party AM, who got a son to steal the data card out of one of our guys' megaphones. There was nobody political on there. Everybody was there underneath their own steam. Personally, I was there for Justice for the Boys, a lady called Tracy Blackwell from London.
She's been on the show, bless her.
And we had a very peaceful march there, but it did demonstrate that if it actually came to it, we could have shut Newport down very easily. And I think that was seen as a direct, cutting-edge movement, and that was just organised in a couple of days. Now, to get those people to London, they would have loved to have stood up for the cause, but they couldn't get to London financially or time-wise. So that is what that was all about. Obviously, we have infiltrators. Why, I cannot believe, because people from the left and the right should stop fighting amongst each other and get on with fighting the people that are taking our democracy and our freedom of speech away. Now, do the left really, are they really that silly that they want their democracy taken away? Do they want to be managed? Do they want to live in a dictatorship? Because I suggest they go to Russia or another country where dictatorships, if they're that fond of being under a dictatorship, go to another country. Because in the UK, Great Britain, England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, we live under a democracy, so say. So let's have this democracy that we've been, that was fought for by our families, fathers and grandfathers. Let's have this democracy. Let's stop this nonsense. And if an MP, they want to look at the Westminster and the House of Commons and the childish manner that they conduct themselves in these meetings and in Westminster, and if somebody like James Goddard has been ridiculed and had his Facebook page taken down, then don't you think some of these MPs should be sacked for being tyrannous?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. And just to compound that news today, coming out of Germany and France and the EU, Guido again is running a story. German Defense Minister, United EU military is becoming a reality. In an extraordinary article for leading German newspaper Handelsblatt, entitled "Europe is Forming an Army," Germany's defense minister, Ursula von der Leyenhausen or something, has hammered another nail in the Remain referendum lie that the idea of an EU army is a dangerous fantasy. It was Nick Clegg that said that, wasn't it? They talk about the lie of on the side of the Brexit battle bus for the NHS, which was thrown out of the court within about a day of it coming out. That story, that bus, printing that on the side by Nigel Farage, for goodness sake, and other leading members of the Remain campaign quickly disowned that. That's the single lie. And yes, technically it was, or at least it couldn't be accounted for from the Leave campaign. On the other hand, it has transpired, we know, Dave, that the lies from the Remain campaign were far more dangerous, saying there would be no loss of sovereignty here, there would be no further integration, something that Juncker, Merkel and Macron have all said, oh yes, there will. And they also said there would be no. He said it was a dangerous fantasy. Clegg, in a debate with, I don't know who it was he was debating, but he was in a debate on the telly. He said it was a dangerous fantasy, any suggestion that there would be an EU army, despite the fact that it was already PESCO, the plans were well underway, and we are seeing that they are calling for it. It's just incredible now.
Well,
it beggars belief.
What are these 35,000 troops for then, Ollie?
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't that long ago, was it? And British troops were wearing EU armbands over their uniforms, and they only took them off when there was an outcry. And I don't know, I guess the government thought, oh, you know what, maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit here. Maybe we shouldn't be doing that quite yet. But it is quite clear that that is their motivation, is it not?
Well, the mainstream media, it's not just the mainstream media, Ollie. On this, I mean, these can all be checked up on, by the way, on my Facebook page. I've already called out the ex-AM for the Green Party who got a son to steal a data card out of the phone. The actual reporter that came to the event had a trench coat on with 3 red stars on the lapels. I don't know what those 3 red stars are, but I've been told what they are. And when I questioned it, the reporter said that he wore the coat because it was a warm coat. Perhaps you could enlighten me what 3 stars on each shoulder is.
I've got no idea, to be honest with you. I've got no idea. If anybody does, let us know in the comments. I'm going to take a few comments now, and then we'll get into the gist of today's chat with Dave and about the problems on our streets. Amin Ahmoud says, by 2030, they want one world nation. Blatantly saying it. And that's the UN, isn't it? And of course, we have this UN Migration Pact as well, which is just incredible. Kimberly, I want to do a show specifically on the UN Migration Pact, and I'm looking for a guest. Yvonne Tierney, I think, very kindly is looking for a guest for me to talk about that. And she's here tonight. Hello, Yvonne. The Remainers won't do that. They are too thick. I'm not sure what she's referring to, but probably all sorts. Kimberly Fernandez, whoa, is it going crazy? They are stepping it up, folks. And yeah, they are. Tracy Palmer, wow, just wow. Copied text. Please do the same and share this wide and far. A lot of Remainers don't realize these facts. If they did, they may think different. And I'm going to read this. She goes on. Have you read the Lisbon Treaty? If we stay in 2022, we become an EU state and have to give up our currency, sovereignty, and nationality. No more queen or king, as it may be. Also, our fishing rights become owned by EU, and all gas, oil, minerals, all EU property. Financial centres all moved to Strasbourg, all agreed in the Lisbon Treaty. Reading it is scary stuff under the jackboot. Anyone who wants to be part of the EU after knowing this is not truest British. This is the fight to save our country. We must pull out of the EU on a no-deal clean break, even if it means we use our last breath in making it happen. Please all share and talk about this to make everyone aware. Now, that could be changed now with what's happened with the withdrawal agreement. But the bottom line is that if we're giving these people that tell us that to have a nation state is somehow racist, that now we all have to get into a different nation state called the European Union, which is racist toward all these nation states within, it seems to me, that wants to kill off all our cultures, homogenize the hell out of us under the Coudenhove-Kalergi plan that Juncker has stood up and said he applauds just recently. If we do that, then if we give them a veto, then yes, you may well be right, my dear, that we will not get out. It is down to a foreign competitor and whether or not we trust them, these kind of people, to give us our sovereignty. Can we have it, please? Can we have it? No, that's not the way we should be operating at all. Amin Ahmoud, bring back the guillotine. Kimberly Fernandez, EU army is real. Chris Rumbold, EU army will be the boots on our ground if we kick off. The 35,000 troops will not be British. Tracy Palmer did May not sign us up on the 9th of the 12th, 2018, to the UN Migration Pact. Yes, as I understand it, it's so hard to get any press coverage on this, isn't it? But I do want to do a show on that and try and clear up a few points on that. Kimberly Fernandez, all them Remainers will be crying once they wake up. And my word, they certainly would be if we don't sort things out for them. Thomas White, been booted off. I don't know if they're talking about Facebook. Very, very possibly. Helen Lasky Smith. Hi, Ollie. I'm on the case. That's Yvonne Tierney. Thank you, Yvonne. And Margaret Painter. 3 red stars means communism. I think Emily Mateless wears a jacket which looks pretty communist. I don't know whether it's got stars on it or not, but I know that she wears a very officious looking jacket when she's out and about. Thomas White, which is true, Ollie. I and others have been letting people know for a while regarding the Lisbon Treaty. And he also says our police will be gone. Our armed forces will be run by Brussels. That includes our nuclear Saab. That's right. It's not just the military, it's also our nuclear capability that they want to swallow up. And Dave, right. Oh, blimey. Aye. Any further comment on that, Dave, before we move on?
Well, to be honest, Ollie, my Brexit conversations don't last very long with anybody, because I always ask, do you understand democracy?
Yes, good question. Good question. I do. And I think it's the best system that we've got.
I can't continue the conversation about Brexit anymore because I also understand democracy. Mm-hmm. It is done. End of.
Yes.
Do you see how my conversations don't last very long with Brexit, with left, right, or centre?
Yes. Well, I agree with your sentiment, but the reality is that, as you said, 408 of 650 constituencies voted to leave in general election terms, and yet Parliament is absolutely running amok with people that want to thwart Brexit quite clearly.
I don't know about Anna Soubry, or whatever her name is.
Yep.
But how about the other MPs and assembly members we have here in Wales? You see, Ollie, the assembly members, out of 22 areas in Wales, 17 of those areas voted to leave. So there's 5 remain constituencies in Wales that wanted to remain. Now, how many do you think of those AMs now still want to leave? None of them.
Huh.
They're virtually all campaigning for a second referendum or to remain. It's ridiculous. You couldn't write it. And the people are still going to vote them in. And they're worried about people wanting to speak to their leaders or speak to their AMs or their MPs because they might be a little bit pissy. Well, I'm sorry, Buttercup, but you're not doing your job properly. The MPs and the AMs, if we was in 1839, they would be hung, Ollie. And they're worried about being shouted at now. Wake up.
It is exactly the same with Anna Soubry. In Broxtowe, her constituency, I think it was 70% voted for Brexit. And of course, she was voted back in at the last general election on a far diminished majority of about 850, 860 something. Pretty much almost a trace majority. And gone down from about an 8,000 majority the last year because people, but people voted presumably based on the Tory manifesto that said they would honour the referendum result. Now, in fairness to Theresa May, she has said, I think yesterday it was a parliamentarian said it was 75 times she stated in the Commons that we would be leaving the EU on the 29th of March. But the fact is that this deal is not leaving the EU at all. Until the EU say, oh, that's fine. Okay, you can go now. I mean, what is that? Anyway. Dave, right, sir, you're one of our ground troops in the UK, looking after folks that really, really need it in a way that our government apparently is not. I would like, if you would please, to tell us a little bit about some of your activities with the homeless and what you see in your locality, please.
I'm not a walk-on-by person. I've been campaigning since 2014 on local issues. I'm a local man, and until the referendum, and I seen that these politicians were actually going against the people, that's what brought me into national. I suppose I've dealt with the local water company that don't provide the infrastructure for housing, the housing associations with their poor housing and people living in damp conditions. Our local housing association tell people to leave their windows open, Ollie, and turn their heating up because they've got mould on their walls in their house. It's a cavity wall insulation problem. It is not that they're cooking without lids on their saucepans. It's not because there's too many people in the house and they're causing condensation. You couldn't write the things I've campaigned on. Absolutely ridiculous. We've had local politicians that think they're above the law. I actually called a leader of the local council a disgusting man on Facebook. I had a police came round to my house and arrest me for it.
Really?
Absolutely ridiculous. That was in 2015.
For calling somebody disgusting.
But now, what I'm seeing now, last year when the snow come down in January and February, another local councillor, myself and a few others were going out and giving hot water bottles and some coffee. It was -7, Ollie. You wouldn't leave. If somebody phoned the RSPCA and said somebody left a dog out in -7, the country would kick off. We've got people, human beings on our streets in -7, and they're saying it's acceptable, and there's nothing we can do about it. We've thrown millions of pounds at this problem and have failed to fix the problem. The problem is we've still got homeless people on our streets. There is very big issues. There is mental health issues. There is drug-related issues. There is alcohol issues. There is living standard issues. It's a big problem. It's huge. But nobody from the councils and the authorities are coming up with sustainable policies to combat this. I'm not funded, Ollie. I have no face. I have no PayPal. Everything I do because I do. And every volunteer that I deal with is doing it because they want to do it. Last week, I went to help somebody, and I know that you've shared my video, Ollie, about me being outside the Red Cross. I'd like to clear up a couple of things about that it was done in sheer accident. I knew the homeless guys were there. I went to the Red Cross because I'm short of funds. I have nothing left to give anybody. And I went there to see if I could get some blankets or some clothes from the British Red Cross, and they told me they only deal with refugees. What I have stated on my video has made people aware, and everything is true. But, it's a huge problem. But from that, some guys last night, they were there till 3 o'clock this morning. There's 160 odd people on the streets in Cardiff, many of them without even a blanket or a quilt or a tent. Now, there's guys, I've just done a live video with one of the guys who is using his own petrol, his own vehicle, to go round and pick up donations of people off Facebook and take them down to Cardiff tonight between 10 and 12 o'clock and arrange the meeting point. We've got 160 homeless people that may want a pair of socks, a pair of gloves. The proposal that we're working on, Ollie, and the guys that are doing this are working to, we're saying to the homeless, have what you want, but only take what you need. So, and we've got to try and spread it out. We haven't got an endless supply of these things. You've got to remember this is coming from the public purse, not through government.
No.
This isn't tax. Nobody's paying for this. The EU ain't paying for this. Mm-hmm. Nobody's paying for it except for the generosity of good people in the local areas that they're in. And it is waking people up, Ollie. People have had enough. I'm on the ground. I speak with members of the public, real people, real workers. guys that get up and work and go to work every day and do their thing, pay their taxes, and at the end of the week, what have they got left? By the time they've paid out for their high rent on their social house, and they've put a bit of the fuel in the car, and they've paid all their taxes, they're left with virtually nothing. We're living on very, very low incomes, and when it comes to it, everybody is only a month or two away from being homeless. And with universal credit as it is, and everybody seems to forget, universal credit was invented by the Labour Party. Yes, it was introduced by the Conservatives in 2010, but it started off a Labour policy down in and that's where the originate come from. But we're still in 2018, we're still having people cross over to universal credit that are having to spend time without any money. And this money that they're giving to people, they're giving them the rent money to pay into their landlords or their housing associations. So when you're living on £38 a week or £45 a week, and you get given the £90 a week to pay your rent, but you've got to make a choice. You can either have some food or pay your water rates or pay your other bills. It's not a lot of money. So that's why people are falling behind with their rent. They can't get any help then. And it's spiraling out of control. But the main fact is we've got 160 people just in Cardiff. There's lots all over the country.
Yeah.
And, we need to come together to try and combat this at the moment, to make sure that nobody else dies on our streets. 58 homeless people died last year on our streets.
What is the temperature expected to be?
500. Sorry.
What is
580 people died on our streets last year.
580 in the UK.
580 people died on our streets last year. That's one person a day is dying because they're out in the cold on the pavement. And before you say...
Closer to two.
I can't read the comments.
Go on.
There. But before you say it's drug-related and they're all junkies and all that, forget that. Because do you know what the percentage is of those people that died that were drug-related? It's 3%.
Really?
So all you
Very
haters
minimal
out there that want to have a pop at me and say they're all junkies and they don't deserve it and all the rest of it, because the vile comments that come from people are absolutely disgusting.
Well, I can tell you.
83 people last year died because they were living on our streets. You look at the videos. Last night, I was walking up to people in doorways, in shop doorways on concrete floors, sleeping on the floors. 162 of them. It's 2019, and it's about time the public started to realise why this is happening. Sorry to rant, Ollie. I know it's your
mate.
show, but
No, you're awesome. You're brilliant and a fantastic spokesperson. But wow, fantastic. I'm going to give you a few comments though, and I'll tell you, there's nothing negative that I've seen. People are very concerned. I'm in Armagh. Stop foreign aid, and most of these issues will be sorted out. Look after your own first. Simples. Kimberly Fernandez. Meanwhile, they say on the UK government webpage, come, we will give you a house or flat and give you free NHS and money. And actually, yeah, I can put it up, folks. I can put it up right now. That very page that you're talking about.
Please do, Ollie. Put it up.
Asylum.
I carry it around in my bag. The people need to wake up, and it's about time everybody stop talking about it. Get out there on the streets and demonstrate under the yellow vest. No fighting, guys. Don't fight between yourselves. Left and right, come together and let's sort out the government problem that we've got. Last year, our AMs in Wales, we've got some of the poorest people in Wales here, mind. They gave themselves a £10,000 a year pay rise. How insulting do the AMs of Welsh Assembly want to be to the people? How insulted do the general public have to be before they say something? It absolutely roils me, Ollie, that the general public just lie down and let me run over you, because that's what's happening. Isn't it about time somebody had a voice and spoke back?
What does a Welsh Assembly member earn now, out of interest?
Oh, only about 70k, mate, with expenses on top. Oh, and of course, our local AM, her husband is an AM for a different borough. They claimed for the same house, Ollie, a few years ago in the expenses scandal. And then when it was found, the lady said, "Oh, I didn't realise my husband was claiming, and I'll give the money back." Yeah.
Incredible. Okay, I'll read a little bit of this. Katie Hopkins put out a fantastic video on this document from the government, which is basically encouraging asylum seekers to come in, presumably from France, where they could be claiming asylum, or if not at the first state that they went into and should have been asking for asylum under UN rules or what have you. But anyway, the UK is encouraging with housing. You'll be given somewhere to live if you need it. This could be a flat, house, hostel, or bed and breakfast. You can't choose where you live. It's unlikely you'll get to live in London or southeast England. Cash support, you'll get $37.75 for each person in your household per week. This will help you pay for things like food, clothing, and toiletries. Your allowance will be loaded onto a debit card each week. You'll be able to use the card to get cash from a cash machine. If you've been refused asylum, you'll be given somewhere to live, so you'll still get somewhere to live, and £35.39 per person, so £2 less on a payment card for food, clothing, and toiletries. I mean, when you consider the problem, the epidemic of homeless we have on our streets, many of whom, as I understand it, have served their country, for example, in the armed forces, it really is quite incredible, isn't it? We've got with us Spirit on Discord and Don Davidson. Spirit, first of all, can you hear me, Spirit? Because I know that you were telling me yesterday that
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good on you, mate. What would you like to say?
555.
What would you like? What would you like to say, Spirit?
Well, I mean, it's like I said. The biggest concern I've got is for the troops. They've got a covenant behind them, and the government's just not honouring it. I mean, I just can't understand. All these people in the streets. They're not asking for a lot. Just a warm bed at night in the winter to do them. Is everything coming through, Ollie?
Yeah. No, you sound loud and clear. Good audio.
I mean, it really does my head in. They've been out fighting for us, and now they're on the streets. I mean, some of them have got mental problems. I understand that, but they've got a covenant. Look what Trump's done for his troops. He's completely wiped the board with everything now, and he's just given them top priority. That's what we ought to do in this country. Give them top priority on housing.
Well, we've got Don Davidson here as well, who's from Ohio. Sorry, Don, what would you say to that? How do you see or perceive a change in the way that veterans are being treated now under this administration to under the prior Obama administration, for example?
Well, the veterans. I'm a veteran myself, and I've been to them. I've never been treated badly by a veterans organization where I'm at now. I have been treated a little bit roughly in Columbus, Ohio. But I don't think there's going to be that much change. And I don't know that it needs to be. I think there's a different situation needs to come about. But it is great that he authorized that if we were to become sick or injured, like on a weekend or something other, and the veterans wasn't open or we couldn't get an appointment fast enough, we can go to then like an emergency room situation, the veteran would end up paying. So that, that part I think is really good.
Does it surprise you, gentlemen, Spirit, to hear that there are 160 rough sleepers in Cardiff tonight?
No. I mean, I live in a small town, and we've got about 5 or 6 in our town. And the population's nothing compared to that one in Wales, in Cardiff. And they get nothing. It's like I said, we've got the same thing, Red Cross, and they just don't want to know. I mean, the Red Cross has got some questions to answer anyway later on. But it's just sad in this day and age that like I said, we're 6th richest country in the world, and we can't even look after a few people on the street.
Tell me about what were you going to say about? Hold on a sec. I've lost my thread there because I'm having some problems. I'm trying to get the video sorted out for YouTube as well. I'm having real problems sorting out the video for you guys. Hopefully, it's a little bit better now, but I know it's breaking up quite badly. I'm trying to get a better upload speed going on here so that I can be streaming. The bottom line being that every now and then Facebook kicks off the feed or YouTube kicks off the feed or whatever. And so trying to have a reserve going out on wakeupuk.net as well. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you, Jason. And in fact, right now it says fetching video stream. It looks as though the video has been interrupted on Facebook, but we do what we can. So anyway, let's just take a few more comments, seeing as I lost my track there. And Kimberly Fernandez says, how many in London? I'm sure it's in the hundreds. I reckon in London it must be in the thousands. Do you have any idea, Dave, what kind of statistic we're talking about in major cities such as London and Manchester and Birmingham?
Yeah, I wouldn't have a clue, mate. My local area here now is down to 2, where I am in Torvine. But I'm aware that there's quite a few in Newport. I know I think it was 162, and that's official statistics last night. The police were there to move their tents on, to tell them that they couldn't put their tents there. It's live on video. We've got a guy in Wales. He's called the Morning Local Weather Butt. He's called a character. A little bit fruity with the language. However, he's a good guy. He was out there at 3 o'clock this morning doing something, giving people an extra blanket, a pair of gloves, a bottle of water, some dog food for their dogs. Don't forget, these people have got dogs, and if you say to them, yes, you can have a room for the night, but you can't bring your dog. Ollie, I don't know whether you got a dog.
No. Only Brexit the dog.
The last thing you've got on this world is your dog.
Yes.
You're not going to give it up together. And doesn't that show you what sort of people they are? Because they wouldn't leave their dog behind. And yet we're leaving humans behind. Do you understand the concept of that? The concept is that we are leaving people out in -3, 5 and 7 degrees when we wouldn't do it to a dog, would we, Ollie?
No, that's right. And as you said earlier, very, very good remark. We would be up in uproar, the British public, if dogs were, if they ran a story in the probably the Daily Mail or something saying how dogs have been left out in the cold. Tell me, what are you say the councils are basically doing bugger all? What are they doing to try and help?
Well, no, I didn't say that, Ollie.
Okay,
I didn't say they were
correct me, please.
What I am actually saying is there is plenty of money being thrown at different projects. The projects have been ongoing for. This isn't just the last couple of months this has come about. This isn't because of the EU. This isn't because of anything. These problems have been around for years. The same elected AMs, MPs, councillors, have been in their same positions, sitting pretty. They don't care about the thing. They just set up a tick box system where they can be offered help. Now, the help that they are offered, they have to go under a restricted regime. They've got to be in before 10 o'clock. You can't smoke. If you've got a drink or an alcohol problem, you have to go into a specific centre for help with that problem. But the jump is too far. And like I explained about the dog is sometimes one of the last things that a homeless person has got after losing everything. There may be a relationship breakdown, which causes a job breakdown, which causes mental health issues, which is attached to not being wanted in society, and become reclusive when you've got no money and you haven't got nowhere to go and wash and change, and you're ostracized because of your behavior, and the stigma attached to being homeless. There's not enough been done to get the first step in stone to introduce them back into reality. We've left people behind, Ollie. We've forgotten. We've become a walk-on past society, and it's got to stop. And it's the people at the bottom, normal people, that are reacting and doing proactive things. The council having meetings and setting up an online thing where a homeless person can go to a church in another valley, or go here and go there, and these people cooking meals for them, and what have you. It's just plastering over what the government is actually doing. So, that's the way I feel about it.
Okay. One other point that you brought up earlier, which it seems to me is very, very pertinent, and actually I kind of feel it myself as well. I wonder how many people are affected by this. You mentioned that there are so many people that are just a month or a couple of months away from being homeless, that is how close to home this issue sits for so many of us. Do you have any statistics on what kind of number face that potential predicament in the UK? We're not very good at saving anymore, are we? We seem to be very good at adding more and more debt. For example, pressurized into spending a lot of money coming up to Christmas and what have you. And maybe lose a job, and then, well, hold on a sec, can you afford to keep your rent paid or your mortgage paid? Any idea how many people would come into that catchment?
Well, I know the people. We've got 6 people at the moment living in a little shanty town outside the Red Cross Centre in Newport, and me and a couple of councillors have looked at it. It's probably a 10 grand problem, if I'm going to talk in very quick terms. To fix that 10 grand problem would buy them 3 months rent and get them back into some sort of living standard and get them off the street. However, our First Minister spent a measly £10,000 on a flight ticket to go and watch the rugby or football. I think I was corrected, actually. He spent £10,000 of public money for the First Minister to go and watch a football match. AMs gave themselves a £10,000 pay rise last year. Not £10,000 a year. They gave themselves a £10,000 pay rise. I think there's how many? I'm not sure how many AMs. We've got quite a few, 20 or 30. So just one of those AMs giving up that 10,000 would put, say, 6 people back on their feet. What it needs is a leg up. We need to give these people a hand up, and by giving them a hand up, that's what we need to do. And we don't need to tread them in anymore. We don't need to send the police round there to tell them that they can't put their tents there because it might affect the shopping centre's reputation. Absolutely disgusting behaviour by this government, moving tents so the homeless can't be seen if there's a parade of important people coming down the road.
That's right. It
Those
happened
important people are the ones that put them there.
It happened
Those important people
happened in
are the
Windsor,
ones that
didn't it?
actually
For the
put
royal
those people on the streets.
happened in Windsor for the royal wedding, for example. They cleared all the homeless out of Windsor, bust them out.
Absolutely shameful, Ollie. Shameful.
Tracy Palmer. Tracy Palmer.
The public outrage in it.
Tracy Palmer. They are from England. That's why they won't help the homeless. You don't see any foreign people homeless. Would you corroborate that, or would you say that that's a bit harsh?
What do you mean?
What nationalities do the homeless tend to be that you see?
There isn't no distinguishment between homeless. I mean, I'll tell you the truth. The ones that I see are just normal people. What do you mean, ethnic? You mean?
Well, I mean, for example, I read the asylum support that you can get, and it says if you're refused asylum, you will be given somewhere to live, irrespective. Presumably, these folks that you're meeting are not given that kind of a benefit. I think
yes, they are, Ollie. Yes, they are. They are given the options. However, they're with constraints. Now, the refugee...
What sort of constraints? Why don't they take a place then? Dave, if they've got a place that they can have shelter, why do we have this homeless problem? You're saying that they do have the option to have a shelter?
Yes, but with restrictions. They can't have a dog in there.
Right.
So when they go to these hostel or things... I have met people that won't go to a hostel because they're scared that there might be somebody there using drugs. There's a guy last night, he never used drugs in his life. He don't drink. He split up with his missus. He left the house with his missus and the kids. He ended up on the street. He fell on hard times, 58 years old, and nowhere to go. So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation, Ollie, that we're trying to deal with here. It's a very difficult situation. It's a very complex situation.
Yes.
And it needs good minds and heads to put it to it. To be quite honest, are any of the councillors and officials up for the job? I doubt it with their empathy.
Can there not be?
People.
Can there not
what
be?
They're doing is,
Dave, for example, can there not be centres set up which would allow dogs, but for people that all have dogs, and then they have a kind of a central... I know it's a bit chaotic, but if people can have the opportunity of shelter, surely they maybe should be taking that rather than having sub-zero temperatures. I understand that people want to have a companion in life. I understand that. I was brought up with dogs. I do understand that. But on the other hand, I can also see the other side of the coin, which would say, well, you know what? I mean, sometimes, I don't have a dog personally because I live in a flat, which I consider it would be too small for there to be a dog here. It wouldn't be fair on the animal. That's a decision I make as a welfare decision. Maybe these folks should consider that. Angle. Am I being harsh?
Not in my eyes. I'm pretty straight talking, so I totally agree with you. The situation with the dogs is quite a rare one, but I'm saying it's one of the many problems. Mm-hmm. Do you know, Ollie? If you talk about
sure.
Or show sympathy to somebody that is a drug addict, the stigma is worse than being called a racist. These people that attack you for helping somebody, well, they're beyond help. They're a drug user, so you shouldn't do it. Well, where's that come from? Okay, so they've got a drug problem. You know, people have drink problems. People have mental health issues. And I think that I'd like to touch on the mental health issue.
Yes,
as well,
yes,
Olly,
please. That was my next
mental health
question.
issue
Go on,
is
please.
sometimes brought about by the living conditions that the government has created.
Yeah,
They've
and you
created these situations where you live in this dictatorship. And this dictatorship
living in unsavory conditions in dilapidated property is what you were talking about earlier. And so you're saying that people are in a kind of a vicious circle somehow.
I'm speaking from personal experience, Olly. If you look back on my timeline, a week before Christmas, I think it was, there's a picture of a video of me in a lady's house. That the water was coming through the ceiling. She had 5 buckets on the floor. The local housing association has been going to fix it for 4 years. You heard that right, 4 years. It's on the video on my timeline. I got the councillors, the 3 councillors. I rung them up, and the one said, "Oh, well, I'm just going out. I am, Mr. Simpson. So can we deal with it tomorrow?" "No, we'll deal with it today." They put her in a hotel overnight, and the 3 councillors and I were working very hard to get that roof fixed, which should have been done 4 years ago. That poor lady in that house has suffered the do they call it what is it when they water torture you because the drip
waterboarding
when it rains?
Well, water torture
water going into buckets. Didn't they a dictatorship government do that too?
Yeah. There have been. Yep, there have been. Okay, Job Gates has an interesting point. He says the indigenous homeless don't carry votes. Say it as it is. How much of an issue is that? Is that an issue?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've watched councillors when they campaign, and they never go into the blocks of flats. Do you know why they don't go into the blocks of flats? Because the people in flats don't vote. Because they've been driven into the thing that it doesn't matter what they say.
Yeah.
And this referendum actually proves that. Because the local people have voted 60-40. I'm going to be correct. 59.7%.
Yes.
To leave in this area, and our leader of our council, our AM,
is trying to deny that.
MP are still going for a second referendum. How actually? How much do you want to take the mick?
Of course, people get fed up and then they don't vote. Absolutely. Stavros, rough sleepers up 116% from 2012 in Eastbourne, at least 50 sleeping around the town centre. And yes, this is the southeast coast, Eastbourne. Yeah. Lisa Fuge. Saturday, the boys from Rhondda Valleys will be giving haircuts to the homeless, as well as food and blankets. You know those guys, don't you, Dave?
Yeah, that's the guys that I'm on about. I'm on videos with them. They're a great bunch of guys. Some of them are doormen. Some of them are a bit fruity, like I said. But hey, listen, for all the haters out there having a pop at these guys, they're out there putting a blanket round a homeless person.
Yes.
If they was out there putting blankets around dogs, you'd be all over them. Now, where's the compassion for other human beings in this country?
Yeah.
Because it's getting to the stage where the public are actually embarrassing themselves with some of these vile comments about petty things. In the big scheme of things, what are they doing? They're going down there and feeding the homeless. Well, boo-hoo. I don't care whether they're left, right. To be honest, I was out with them last night. I wouldn't have a clue of their political view because they were guys on the street walking the walk, not talking the talk as far as I'm concerned.
Dave, God bless you, mate. I'm going to wrap the show tonight, but I want to leave on this comment from Tracy Palmer. My friend worked all his life. Last year, he became homeless through no fault of his own and slept in his car for the past year with no help after trying everywhere. If it wasn't for two of his friends helping him with food, letting him use our facilities, he had major surgery just before becoming homeless and has Crohn's disease too. All they cared about was him getting a job. They didn't care he had nowhere to live, which means he couldn't get a job with no fixed abode. Just a brief comment, please, Dave, but that is very much the kind of vicious circle that people can find themselves in, no?
Yeah. I'm just reading through some of the comments now, mate, because I just you said that a couple of people put comments on there.
I'll tell you, there's nothing. I haven't read a single negative comment.
I've just picked up a device now where I can read the comments.
Oh, well, it's a bit late because the show's just finishing.
Okay.
Oh, Dave, look, God bless you, man. God bless you. Dave, please feel free to call in and anytime you like and tell us what's going on. If you want to give us a shout tomorrow and tell us how it has gone tonight, I know that there's a bit of a campaign going on in your area tonight to try and help out some of these guys. And
yeah. Well, to be honest with you, in the background, the other phone's going bleep 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 bleep, and I can only do one thing at a time.
Yeah, so, can only do one thing at a time.
Olly, listen, guys, stay safe, be in solidarity, stop arguing, left and right come together. Let's move forward and let's sort this problem out. And, it's very easy to do if we all stick together. Just remember, United Kingdom, guys. United Kingdom. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon, Olly.
Hats off, Dave.
God bless you, Dave.
Bye.
Yeah, that's Spirit in the background. Thank you, Spirit. I'm pleased that you got on tonight, mate.
I am as well. I mean, I had trouble. I had to reload Discord before I could get on, so there's remnant in there somewhere.
Good on you, mate. And Don Davidson as well. Nice to hear from you again, sir.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm sorry I didn't have the total information of the question you was asking me earlier. The water was running, so I answered the wrong question type thing. But,
That's all right. That's all right. We like a bit of chaos. You've been checking out Daily Brexit. I'm Olly Connelly. Back tomorrow at 7. See you then. And thank you, Dave. Thank you, mate. Thank you. God bless you. What you do, Dave Simpson. Thanks to everybody in the comments. I'm sorry on YouTube. I know it's been another night of technical chaos for you, that the picture's been absolutely useless, and I apologize for that. I refreshed the picture so many times to try and get the video working for you guys. But let's face it. I mean, I just need a slightly different. I need a completely different system, actually. But anyway, there you go. Just doing what we can here. And by the way, if you were wondering, I have practically finished the new site for Daily Brexit, which is at dailybrexit.uk, and I will be launching that within a few days, within a few shows. And hopefully that'll help a bit as well with the tech. Yeah. Oh, blimey. That's it. That's a hint. There you go. I'm off. All right. Ciao. Cheers, guys.
See you tomorrow.
Cheers, Spirit.
Messing with my head again.